So this is my Wix website, and I wanted to talk about a couple of pieces that are here, some of which I created at Southern Connecticut State University during my time there earning my post-baccalaureate art education teaching certificate. And then there's a couple of pieces towards the end from my days at Framingham State that I also wanted to talk about briefly that were here and easy to access to share. So this is a drawing that I created of my daughter doing ballet. I just wanted to state that I have never really drawn throughout the course of my art making. So this is me in my 40s learning how to draw pretty much for the first time in my life. So I had a professor that was not very kind and actually brought tears to my eyes over this piece because no, it is not perfect, but it was me trying my best. And I wanted to include a piece of me and a piece of who I am and a piece of my textiles background into this drawing. So I actually hand sewed a tutu that I created specifically to fit onto this drawing. And this particular professor hated it and said how awful it was. And, you know, my portions were off, and it really was very hurtful. And I just learned that not everybody can appreciate what you do, but how important it is to do what you do and what you feel passionate about, because not everybody will be, unreceiving of things that are not your typical. And I get that it's not typical to embellish a drawing in such a way, but I wouldn't call myself an artist if I wasn't able to have that creative freedom and chance to experiment and play with different ways that materials can work together. So this piece is super special to me for a number of reasons, but it also holds a very, not so pleasant memory along with it, which kind of makes me sad because I was so excited to create this and then have, that negative reaction from someone that was supposed to be, guiding me versus, making me feel pretty horrible. Then I'm going to skip down to, let me see, there's a few other textile pieces. So this is another one of my hand embroideries a little bit further down the line from the Disney pieces that just really signifies a huge part of my life. These are materials that are part of my everyday. This is a hand cross stitch, and this is a super special piece. I created this actually as my portfolio cover for my Framingham State portfolio. And I wanted to share that just to kind of show that cross stitch and hand embroidery has always really been a part of my art making and where I find a great amount of joy creating these types of pieces. This is a blackwork embroidery that was created in a textiles course that I took at Framingham. And I used the border in my mom's kitchen to trace the outline, contour shapes of these fruits and vegetables and bottles and baskets that were in this border. And this is a counted type of stitching where you use the actual woven fabric and count threads to guide the way the stitches map out using, the mathematical calculations of the actual woven thread count. So this is a piece that I'm super proud of. It was framed in my mom's kitchen for quite a few years, and I actually, she had taken it down when they remodeled the kitchen, and now I have possession of it. But this is a piece that was super special, very time consuming to create, but, again, me continuing to work on my hand embroidery skills. And then the J was a piece that I worked on with some high school students during my student teaching, going back to the days of how my grandmother originally had taught me to learn cross stitch, was using gingham fabric. So I do feel that this is a really great way to introduce some basic stitching to students, and using the gingham fabric as just kind of a guide to work on stitch size and getting the process down. And then moving on to a more complicated piece, this was a identity piece that I designed to represent myself, where I traced the boot, the shape of Italy, to represent my Italian heritage. And then I chose a basic stitch to fill the green portion to represent the flag. And then on the far right, the red portion, I chose a different stitch. So this was really working freehand for the most part. Once I had the sketch on the circle design, I worked freehand to fill the spaces with the various different embroidery stitches that I used for this. And then this is a sampler. You know, I have a book of all different stitches, and I kind of went through it and experimented with a whole bunch of different stitches, which I think is super important for anybody that is working on something new, or even working on something where they have some experience, because I feel like there are always new things that we can learn and we can practice and we can perfect as we, you know, grow and age and refine our skills with a technique or process that we find enjoyable. And then my wearable art pieces that I had talked about previously are also here. And I think that was all that I wanted to talk about in this little section of my work.